Okay, welcome everyone. So I wanted to tune into specifically this group. There are a number of different pathways that we can take, and I've really just been tuning into the consciousness of this group and I'm gonna speak what I feel is felt in the field. And it's a combination of different things I've dove into. So we're going to be diving into past lives and the connections we have, the stories that have happened, why we are here, and also how this translates into our Dharma, our soul's purpose, our greater embodiment here on this planet. So feel free to come close or lie down or whatever you want to do. So my first question, you can have a journal or something that you're writing on. Who are you? You can just take a moment to answer that one. And why are you here? Why now? What do you really want? Why do you want it? What's holding you back from it? It could just be words, whatever the first thing's coming to mind. And if this was a chapter in the story of your life, what is this chapter called? So this story that you're in, it's not your first rodeo doing it. These themes have come up in lifetimes before, and the fact that it's happening again in this lifetime shows there's more work to be done. Because we only recreate the situations where we have unfinished business. And these aren't just negative, quote unquote, things, it's also our gifts. Those things that come really naturally to you, easily to you, that you're like, everyone compliments me on this, I don't really know why, it's just who I am. All of that is part of your Dharma. So the word Dharma, from the ancient Vedic translation, literally means your place in the universe. So if we were all a giant jigsaw puzzle of life, what is the puzzle that you are? And it's not what you do. It's not your career. It's not how you show up in the world necessarily even, but it's who you are. It's your essence, it's your frequency. It's the unique vibration that only you can carry. Because there are many different spiritual coaches and authors and podcasters and thought leaders out there, but every single one of them has a unique vibration, a unique essence. So like, what is Robert Grant's essence to us? Like, let's just throw out some words here. What do we feel in his frequency?
Mastery.
Mastery. What else? Brilliance.
And all subjects.
Yeah, multifaceted.
Polymath.
Polymath. Okay, let's dive deeper. Like, what archetypes does he play out? Father, polymath, philosopher, maybe discoverer, teacher, leader. genius, rebel. Okay, let's say we gave that character a story. What's the story of a person who's like this? Let's imagine he was in Egypt. What was his lifetime here in Egypt? Let's all channel this together, because imagination is all coming from somewhere. What we think is random never is. Where is your imagination pulling this from? So let's just say Robert Grant was here 2,000 years ago. What was he doing here? Exploring. Let's just start adding to this story right now. He was stabilizing. Okay, let's give him a name. Whatever name comes to mind.
Henry.
Tutankhamun. I don't think it was Henry. Tutankhamun sounds more what they would call themselves there. Tutankhamun. So we'll call him Tut. He was Tut's brother. He was King Tut's brother that went the other way and was like, you know what? I don't want to do this whole royalty shit. I want to like be for the people. I want to go into the artifacts and discover things and bring them to the collective. But the people didn't like him. Why?
He was too handsome.
He was too handsome. He was challenging them. He wasn't following the rules. So one day, him and his brother King Tut decided to have a battle. And this battle, whoever won, they were going to take over Kemet. And so they battled, and what happened?
He won.
Who won?
Robert.
I don't know. I don't see Robert's name on there.
Robert lost.
Robert lost. The pyramid became King Tut's. But what did Robert swear he would do when he came back into the next life? He would avenge.
Instagram influencer.
He'd become an Instagram influencer, and he would share this wisdom with the world once and for all. So that's why when he goes into the pyramids, which were once his, he feels all type of ways. He's like, this was mine. It should have been my esophagus. I can't even say it. And so here we are, because we were, what was our role in his life? Maybe we were his disciples.
Followers, yeah.
Yeah.
Assistants.
And we didn't forget. We said, Robert, when you come back in that lifetime as the spiritual influencer, we're going to find you. We're going to come to Egypt with you. We're going to, even though people might think we're crazy too, we're going to follow your word, and we're going to put all our information into this AI.
I think we're also co-activators.
Co-activators. Maybe we were all in a mystery school together. So you see here, we just essentially channeled a lifetime. Where did that come from? It makes sense. If someone told Robert this, I think he'd really resonate. So the themes that we're playing out in this lifetime are vibrations or echoes of previous lifetimes. So they're not even new. The obstacles you have, the themes that you have, the roadblocks that you have, these are stories pre-written by your soul. And in fact, it was a lot more extreme in previous lifetimes, right? You had to be burned at the stake or beheaded, and, you know, they put bricks and stones on you. And maybe in the next lifetime it was you were a silenced wife. And in the next lifetime it's you got a degree but you never did anything with it. And now in this lifetime it's like I have everything, I could just go live, but I'm still scared. So the fears are there, but they get subtler and subtler and subtler. But they're echoes of the past. And we can see now with epigenetics that nothing is new. So it's not just past lives, but it's also our ancestral lineage, which will mirror the two. Because our souls choose family constellations where these past life issues can be replayed. And many of us actually have past lives in our own lineages as well. So you may have been your great-grandmother or great-grandfather, etc. And the list goes on. And a really powerful way to begin this work is to learn about your grandparents. Learn about your father's father, your father's mother, your mother's father, your mother's mother. What were the gifts of each of those people? And what were their shadows? What were their obstacles? Because within each and every one of those people is the reverberation that is you. You have all of your grandparents' gifts, and you have all of their shadows as well. And if you actually look at who you are, it's literally those 4 people. It's crazy. And so we think that we're new. We think that we're like, I don't know, no one understands me, I make no sense. Every single feature on your body, on your face, that nose that you hate, the cheeks that are too round, the whatever the thing is the ones that survived. It's the ones that survived and loved and had enough hope to procreate, and the existence of it is you. So what a gift that we have to be able to stand upon their shoulders. And now we have this responsibility of what were the words unspoken? What were the missions that started that didn't get to be complete and activated? And so we can even start with our own parents. How are their unfulfilled dreams living inside of us? What did your mother really want to be? What did your father really want to be? How are you already taking strides in your lineage just from those 2 people? Look how far we've come in 1 generation. It's freaking crazy. It's actually unprecedented. There wasn't that big of a jump between generations 100 years ago. It was pretty much the same. Now it's like entirely new humans. And so it will continue, and that gap is actually going to keep increasing. How are our grandparents' unfinished business? And I invite each of you, when you go home, to learn about your great-grandparents. Who were they? What were their names? When we even just speak out their names, we give them energy, and that activates their gifts towards us. And you know, when we do spiritual work, we're actually elevating their place in the afterlife. So, for example, one of my grandmothers who passed, I had come through that because of the spiritual work I'm doing, that she was in the bardo and stuck there, and she was actually able to like rest and heal and was so grateful. So the work that we're doing is not just for us, but it literally is healing, of course, the future generations, but the past. And so when we're healing the past generations, it actually shifts what happened. So then that trauma that happened, that grandmother of mine was in a forced child marriage to my grandfather, but it shifts that. When that marriage against her will, she was 11 years old, he was 27 in Iran. You know, it's a tragedy, but look at what it birthed. Look at what it created. And so is it. And so we're actually able to rewrite these traumas and karmic imprints and make these really challenging and horrible things that have happened into our lineage into actually the catalyst and the fertile soil for us to become the versions of us that we're meant to be. And that is your Dharma. And for many of us, we are the first generation to ever be even touching upon our Dharma. Because if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, you know, most people, they're just caught in basic needs, survival. And then our wants, I want a car, I want a house, I want just basic luxuries. And then after you get those wants, you reach for self-actualization. And that's when you're asking these deeper questions that most of our lineage has never had the spaciousness to ask. And so it is our sacred responsibility. And so these contemplations are actually shifting and making sense of the unfinished bonds that are still bleeding in our lineage. We're severing them. And so the pain was no longer in vain, but actually it had a reason, because it was the opening, as Rumi says, the wound is the opening for the light to come through. And so really your past lives and your ancestral lineage are intrinsically related to your Dharma and your soul's purpose. You can't even know one without the other, because without it, we're just operating from the level of the mind, which is what most people do. They look at, what does the world want? What's going to make money? Okay, how can I fit that in? And that's why most people will try something for a couple of months and quit, because it's not hitting. It's not reverberating back, because it's not the unique place in the jigsaw puzzle of life that their soul chose to incarnate. Now, when we are living in alignment with our Dharma, we receive what is called kriya. So kriya is the Sanskrit term for effortless flow. It is meeting the right people at the right time that say the right thing, that give you the right idea, that all of a sudden you were here and now all of a sudden you're there. Who experienced some kriya that led them to this expedition? That you're like, it doesn't even make sense why I'm here, but here we are. that was your soul propelling you in the direction of your Dharma. So let's say your Dharma was the end of a highway. It's like your full expression, who you're meant to be. And we were born on that highway. Like you were born as the full embodiment of who you're meant to be. So the things that you were interested as a kid, that was divine remembrance. So I have 3 archetypes, and I wrote this whole book, Discover Your Dharma, if you want to dive more into it. But I work a lot with Ayurveda. That's what my first 3 books are about. And so there's these 3 doshas, which are energy types. Who's familiar with like the Ayurvedic doshas at all? Right. So were you that child that wanted to play an imaginary game and do a skit and dance and make believe and, you know, just like come up with things to do? Like you could be doing nothing and you're like, now we're fairies. Who is that kid? Okay, so we've got some vata, some air energy here. By the way, are my earrings clashing on this? Is the sound okay? Gabriel?
It's good.
It's fine? Not? Okay. Good. Okay, I'll just keep talking. Okay, who was that child that wanted to play outside? They wanted to wrestle, they wanted to play sports, they wanted to do board games, they liked getting competitive. Who is that kid? Okay, so we have some pitta energy, fire. And who is that kid that wanted to play house? They wanted to play, you know, the kitchen, the restaurant game, and I'm the chef and I'll bring you your food, or the animal game and let's pet animals, or they love to just listen to their mom and her friends gossip. That was really fun. Who was that kid? I definitely had that. So that's kapha, earth energy. So we were each born with a unique mix of all 3 of these doshas. And that starts to inform our dharma, our big reason why we're here. Are you the creative kid, imagination, think outside the box, big picture? This is now vata energy, the first one. Were you that competitive, you know, physical, goal-oriented child, pitta, fire? Or were you that you really love to connect with people and listen and be connected to nature and earth and animals? Kapha, earth energy. So again, we're starting to see, as a child, you were born in alignment with your dharma. You were born with the unique combination of all 3 doshas for your specific dharma. It's like, imagine God was playing The Sims. Have you guys ever played The Sims? No one played The Sims here? Okay, so okay, yeah. So you know, in The Sims, you're like, okay, how like social are they going to be? How organized are they going to be? How this, how that? You could design their personalities. So God made us this way of like, okay, you're going to be this vata, this pitta, this kapha. We're going to throw in your birth time. We're going to throw in this, throw in that, throw in that. Now go out there and have fun, you know? And that's essentially what it was. So we have this natural inclination to want to do the things in alignment with our dharma. Why? Because the universe wants us to raise the vibration of the planet. It's like, why would it go against our design? I'm going to make it extremely enjoyable, extremely fun, come very easily to you, because you're just going to want to keep doing it. And it solves the solution of the world's problem that you are uniquely here to solve. So it's like double whammy, right? So we're born in alignment with our dharma. So why am I here if we're all just supposed to be doing it? We're not. Because the universe also has something called karma. Now, karma are the barricades on the side of the highway. They are not here to get us, but they are here to show us how we've become out of alignment. So in this definition, if kriya is effortless flow in alignment with your dharma, karma is the bounded action that keeps you on track for your dharma. So imagine if I'm going off track of the highway, those barricades are not here to punish me, but they're like, you're going off direction. So what happens when I'm going, so let's say I'm born in line with my dharma. So for me, I was very creative. I love to be a pop star, you know, do my thing. But then, you know, I went to school and they told me to sit down. Oh, you're too loud. You talk too much. Blah, blah, blah. And then I was like really spiritual and into witchcraft. And they're like, you're scaring everyone. And then I was like, damn. And then I was really bad at math and science, and I don't even know like how I ended up here. I barely can count. And then they're like, "Oh, you have to go in the lower levels of that," and you know. So then I'm told all these stories about myself, and then you look around and you're thinking, "Okay, well now I'm getting older. What's going to make me money?" Okay, maybe this, maybe that. Okay, what's gonna make my parents proud of me? Maybe this, maybe that. So there's all these exits off the course of the highway. And so even if I really tried to stay on track, soon all of a sudden everyone I know has gone off the sides of the highway. And I'm like maybe the only one still on, and I'm like, wait, I thought we were all the Spice Girls and now you're an accountant and you're doing real estate. Like, what happened to the squad? And so we start thinking, damn, maybe it's too late. Maybe if I don't get off of one of these exits, it's gonna be too late for me. So let me get off an exit before I end up broke, before I end up homeless, before, I'm too out there. Who has gone off an exit at some point in their life? Yeah, I think all of us have. So karma starts to respond. Karma starts with tap, tap, tap. Something's out of balance. You're feeling anxious. Something feels off. You know you're not supposed to be doing this, right? It's subtle. But we've never lived our Dharma before. We have a feeling of it, but we've never lived it, let alone how to do it full time and make money. That feels like a Santa Claus story that you have to let go of. So we're like, okay, I guess I just meant to keep going this way. That's what everyone else is doing. And then the universe responds, oh, you're not listening. Punch, punch, punch. Anxiety, panic attacks, situations happening. And most of us, we look around and we say, well, I guess everyone goes through this. Drink more coffee, take more Adderall. You tell your parents, oh, well, life's tough, get a helmet. I remember telling my mom, I'm like, I would really love to figure out how to make money doing what I love. She's like, no one does that. It's like, she's like, grow up. That's something that so I was like, why did you tell me to follow my dreams if here I am trying? And it's like, no, that's what we told you when you were a kid. Choose a career path. Ideally one that is safe. And you like to talk, be a lawyer. Oh, you like math, be an engineer. It's like the game of life. Pick a card and that's what you're gonna be. It's the closest thing to it. So we continue to go off the highway and we have the anxiety and we have the depression and we have the panic attacks, and karma gets louder. It doesn't give up on us. It says, I'm gonna make you live in pain every single day. I'm gonna make this life so freaking uncomfortable for you, so you have no choice but to change. Because you're gonna change, right? You're gonna change eventually, right? But we live in a society where everyone is living in karma. Just look around at the world. 95% of people are living in an existential dread. And we have normalized it in our society, so we think that's just how life is meant to be lived, when it's not. That pain, that discomfort, that misalignment is the universe speaking to us, telling us this is not how you're meant to feel. And because you humans don't respond when I give you the little intuitive pings, I'm going to speak the language that you do understand pain. And so often the karma gets so bad, we get so off this exit, that the universe, if we're lucky, will shake us up with something that's undeniable. A cancer diagnosis. Finding out your husband had been cheating on you the whole time. A health challenge. Getting fired by your job and not knowing what to do next. Your family disowning you. Your best friend betraying you. Someone stealing all your money. Breaking your knees. Like, the list goes on. We've all heard it. Most of us have experienced something like this, and that was actually our catalyst of why we're here. So we often have to experience the level of breakdown that we need to really get on our knees and learn how to pray. And that is our wake-up call to show us that something is out of alignment. And I'm gonna make it so big and in your face that there is a line in the sand, a before and after from that day. Who's ever had like one of those cries that you're never the same again? There is a life before and after that, right? Because in that moment, a part of you, your oversoul, wakes up and it steps in and it says, enough. We are no longer going to be living in this karma. We are no longer going to be living in this Groundhog's Day of existential dread. And I don't know what the path looks like, but I'm going to trust that there is another way. So this is called a dark night of the soul. Who's been through that? So this dark night of the soul is really here to create a pattern interrupt unlike any other. to take us into the darkness, kal, which is the void. And when we go into the void, we step into the pathway of pure potentiality. In the void, who's ever been in that phase of life where it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how I'm gonna figure this out. If I were to design my living nightmare, I think it would be this. And I'm in it right now. But something deeper in your soul is gonna trust that if I am here, and I'm trusting that I've created this experience and I've created this one, and if God has put me in this situation, it's because there is something so much greater to me on the other side that I have no evidence of. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I'm just going to trust. And that's when we reach our surrender moment. When we let go of the steering wheel. Because where were we taking that steering wheel? The direction of karma. The path of most resistance. And God comes through and says, okay, are you ready to listen? I'm going to be giving you signs. I'm going to be speaking to you in synchronicity. You're going to be hearing things. You're going to be seeing angel numbers. In fact, all of a sudden, it's like life becomes this hologram and you're like, was it always like this? Were there always so many signs around me? Were there always so many synchronicities? It's like all this color comes alive and all of a sudden you start feeling so much more. Like before it was like you were in radio stations like 800 to 1200. Now you have like 0 to 10,000 available for you. And then everyone you meet, you have so much empathy for them. You're like, damn, that's a human. We go through a lot and you're connected to people more. And all of a sudden, even though you're feeling these levels of pain you never experienced, you're feeling these levels of love and joy and alignment. And all of a sudden life becomes holographic. And you still don't know what you're doing, but you're just gonna trust. So the universe starts to steer the wheel now. It starts to take us into this path of synchronicities and we start moving in alignment with our Dharma. And now what we experience is Kriya, the boundless action. Now the universe is gonna put you in front of the right person at the right time to say the right thing that's gonna lead you to the right place and take you exactly where you need to go, and you need to show up for the job and listen. And all of a sudden you're meeting new archetypes within yourself that you've never met before. New versions of yourself, especially the ones you judged in other people. You're like, wait, that's in me? I have a darkness? I have an unknown energy to me? Wow, all the things I didn't like about that person are in me. And all of a sudden you're reaching wholeness, and all of these different karmic contracts you've had in your life are making sense. You're seeing your parents from a new eye. You're healing and completing things that you weren't even aware of, things that you didn't even know were bothering you, all of a sudden start coming to the surface because you start doing the cleanup of your lifetime. You may be emoting a lot in this stage because you have been so deep in karma, and as you're moving towards Kriya, you're needing to purify your system. So the ancient Egyptians used to say the spiritual path was actually the path of purification. It's not about doing the ceremonial rites and learning all the hieroglyphics and getting it all right, which is what we want to focus on. But if I can really purify myself every single day, everything else will just come through. The only reason why we're not all collectively remembering is because we've accumulated so much karma that it's so dense in our field that the moment we open up even a little bit, all of a sudden all these codes start coming through. Have you noticed that when you do healing work in one area of your life, all of a sudden like other areas of your life start opening up? Have you noticed that every single time you hit a new descend, you hit a new ascend? That like you imagine there's a file cabinet of your consciousness and you clear up these file cabinets, and now you're meeting parts of yourself, getting downloads, and it's this beautiful spiral that continues. So through clearing our karma, we step into our Dharma and we experience the energy of Kriya. Does that all make sense? Now what happens in this is we start to clear past life uncompleted business. So you will start to channel from different lifetimes. You will start to embody different energies. So I want us all to take a moment right now and pull out your journal or your phone. And I want us to journal about a historical period or several historical periods that resonate for us. So maybe you've watched a movie and you're like, the French Renaissance, something about it I feel like I was there. Or, oh my God, ancient Egypt. I feel so connected to that. Or being a samurai, something about that really draws me. Or, you know, when I see these Rajasthani temple dancers, I feel some type of way. So take a moment right now to jot down some historical time periods. Where in the world, what year? Okay, now within that, start writing some archetypes that resonate for you there. A samurai, a temple dancer, a queen, a knight, an artisan, a priest, a mystic, an artist, a scientist. What were you doing there? Now choose one that feels really resonant for you, feels very alive for you based on what you're reflecting on right now in this lifetime. So choose one, the archetype, where you were, the year, and write that down beneath it. Because we've had many, many, many past lives. But we have soul contracts with specific ones in specific times of our life because we are meant to focus on the energy of that one. So they'll come alive for us at different points of our lives. Now connecting to the Akashic field, to your highest self, to your oversoul. Taking a moment to just tune in, close your eyes, and envision yourself in this lifetime. Notice what you are wearing. Look down at your body. What kind of shoes do you have on? What is your outfit? What do your hands look like? And go through a day in your life. Where do you wake up? How do you spend your day? What is the environment around you? And now take yourself to one of the happiest days of your life. What happened this day? And now flashing forward through your life. And all the way to your death. Looking at how you died in that lifetime. And what was your biggest regret? What did you wish could be different, that you had more time for? One day I will come back in another life, and I will. And how is this prayer reverberated and echoed into the field until your specific soul in this lifetime said, yes, I will complete this. How is the vibration from that lifetime living in your consciousness today? What are you here to complete? How do you hold the gifts from this lifetime today? How is the work that you did in that lifetime embedded within your DNA today and led as a stepping stone for you? And how do you still carry some of the pains from that lifetime? And what did you vow to complete? And how is this related to your Dharma in this lifetime? When you're ready, you can open your eyes. You can write down anything that came through. And would anyone like to share? It can be healing. So the past life that I just went to was my past life as a priestess in ancient Egypt. And I saw myself so clearly. I was wearing a white robe with gold jewelry, and it made total sense why the oracular arts, divination, is so easy for me in this lifetime. It's such a part of who I always have been. But in that lifetime, it felt that there was like a power taken away from the woman, that we were no longer respected for our oracular arts, and what was once a revered science became like looked down upon and actually was made illegal, and having to go underground and suppress that part of myself. And that makes sense because in this lifetime I was incarnated into an Iranian family, and if you guys don't know the country of Iran, it's the only country on earth, I think today, that music, dance, expression, even a man and woman talking who are not married is all illegal. So I chose to literally incarnate in the most female suppressed culture on earth to complete the unfulfilled dharma in that lifetime of feminine arts being revered. I want feminine arts to be revered, so we're going to take you into the depths of the shadow where no woman in my family has ever even worked, let alone doing what I'm doing. And then we're going to have you fall in love with an Arab guy, and it's going to be this beautiful love, and he's going to even suppress your light more. And so my soul needed to go through the themes again of this lifetime to say, no, we are not in this lifetime. And so after I divorced, when I was free to show up how I wanted to for the first time since I was 24 years old, I wanted to just dance, and I started making music, and I made music videos, and went to Trinidad, and I'm dancing at the carnival, and then it made sense right now in that lifetime of that taught me the art of beauty, the art of music, the art of creating these art pieces. That was part of the soul's curriculum, but it was not the final place. It was teaching me a new level, a new octave that I would not have had before the breakdown, breakthrough, glow up, but then full integration of it. Because what happens is when we go through a breakdown, we become the opposite, and then we find our middle ground of how does it all come together. So it makes total sense that I'm here with you guys. So does anyone else want to share? Yes? You made a, which in India means yes. Yeah. Yeah, we're here doing big work in this lifetime, a lot of karma clearing work. And so knowing that about your past life, which by the way, we have different past lives at different places, how does that change how you want to show up in this life today? Did anyone have like a realization or an aha or a remembrance from it?
From today.
Yeah, just even right now. I can sense some throat chakra blocks in some lifetimes here. It is safe to speak.
I was typing.
Yeah, no, I understand. And it can feel like raw and vulnerable to share about our past lives. But the more that we become living embodiments of them, the more we can just tap into these different energies within ourselves. And then we can start dancing and channeling from all the work we've done in different lifetimes. So the fact that you're here having these kind of contemplations shows it's not your first rodeo doing this. You have done this in many different lifetimes. So if we look at soul ages, who's like heard of a soul age before? Who resonates with being an old soul? Yes, old soul gang. So according to some teachings, and you know, I can't say this is a fact, but I have felt this before, and you tell me if you felt this before. So before we are, kind of the soul begins as incarnation as like a rock, and then it becomes an animal, and it goes through different kinds of animals. And in the Vedas, they say right before you become a human, you're either a dog or a horse, because they're the most sentient beings. And then you become a human and you're an infant soul. Now, infant soul consciousness is all about survival. You know, it's all about just making it through the day. What am I going to eat? Am I not going to get hurt? And so we need to go through, and the way that this system called Michael Teachings is mapped out is 7 stages of each. So 7 stages of being an infant soul. Each has a different vibration and texture. If you go on michaelteachings.com, it's a good website that kind of breaks down the themes of each lifetime. So oftentimes infant souls will choose to incarnate somewhere that there's a war present, because that's going to put us in that exact environment where everyone is sort of an infant soul consciousness. So after doing this X number of times, which by the way, if you don't learn the lesson from that lifetime, you repeat that level. So it's not like necessarily 7 lifetimes. You might be on level 4 for a very, very long time circling some scholar because you're not willing to learn it. So then you move into being a young soul. Now a young soul is like, this is my flag, my house, my religion. So lots of the US and different parts of the world that are very nationalistic are that young soul level of consciousness. It's about, this is me, that's you, this is right, that's wrong, this is the religion, follow the book, follow the doctrine. So from going from survival, you kind of learned, if I follow the rules, I'll survive and be safe. So it's all about following rules. So they'll choose to incarnate in places that is like the major theme. And so that is a young soul consciousness. And by the way, we're sometimes born into a soul age and ascend different soul ages in this lifetime, but it's not a huge one. So you might have been like, well, my whole family is like that. Yeah, because you might have been born into a family of young souls and you be the old soul. So when you now become, so you do that for a series of lifetimes until you learn that it's not about duality. The word should doesn't actually exist. No one's making the rules. Everything is made up. And I'm not going to hold on to righteousness with such a tight grip anymore. Like war consciousness exists in the young soul realm. But they're more the ones creating the wars. The infant souls are the ones just dying in the war. Now it goes into mature soul consciousness. So mature soul is when you're like, wow, when I listen to music, I feel some kind of way. I don't really know what this is, but I like it. Wow, when I see this art, I feel inspired. I want more of this. Ooh, I love reading about philosophy. That's a cool thing to read about. Oh, you know, dancing makes me feel good. Oh, I would love to sing. I like that feeling in my body. So we enter into the mature soul realm. So this is where like psychology exists, philosophy, arts, people who love to go to museums. Lots of like Europe consciousness is here, where it's like, they're not talking about like the afterlife necessarily, but it's not just about survival and the wants either. But again, that's not the end of the ladder as well. So once you go into that of like, what is this music actually doing to me? Oh wow, this art, where was this art channeled from? What is art? Why am I here? Why am I alive? What is the meaning of life? Why are we even doing this? What are the patterns happening in my family? Oh my God, I feel so many things. We start to enter into old soul territory. So who even felt this when they were a kid? Who felt like very clearly in their family, you could see all the dynamics in the family and you're just like, are y'all okay? This is like narcissism, enmeshment, you know, generational trauma. Like, you didn't have the words for it, but you just knew. So oftentimes, you know, as old souls, we choose to spread out, and there tends to be like one of us per family because we're kind of like divide and conquer here. You know, we can't all be together. They're like, hey, I'll take that one, you take that one. See you on the other side on the expedition. So the old soul consciousness, and there's different stages to it. And by the way, when I say stages, I don't mean it's a cyclical ladder that you go up once, but rather it's a spiral. Because we've all felt at times an infant soul. We've all at times been a young soul. We've all at times been a mature soul. And we've all at times touched being an old soul too. But some people just touch you when they die. And some people are living in every day. So it's how much time are you spending in that frequency? It's a state of consciousness. So in old soul consciousness, you've done this dance, you've died many times, you've had a lot of regrets, you've learned a lot of things that you're like, I'm gonna do it right in this lifetime. And it doesn't mean you don't have the human urges of greed and lust and sin and ego, and you still have them, but you have this part of you that like knows better, that knows, oh, if I do this now, I'm gonna have to pay the cost, it's not gonna be worth it. You know, it's like this wisdom in you, this embedded wisdom in you that even when you were a kid, people are probably like, you're so wise, you're only 7 years old, how do you know all of this? Because you came in with many, many different lifetimes. So if you're even on the spiritual path, it means you've done this before. And even the lineages of spirituality you're drawn to, the vernacular, the languages, are from past lives. So if you're really drawn to Buddhism, you were likely a monk in many lifetimes. If you're drawn to yoga, you were probably a yogi. One of the first lifetimes I remembered was I was a rishi that was channeling ancient Ayurvedic information 13,000 years ago. And I was on the Ganga, and we were the original scribers of Ayurveda. But it was becoming enmeshed with like religion, and people were paying their way to like make it about them and inserting themselves as like the guru. And it was becoming very patriarchal as well. And so they just, instead of it being a pure channel of Ayurveda, including the feminine, it just became this like more religious thing. And I said, one day I will come back as a woman and bring Ayurveda to the people. And that was one of the first soul contracts that I did in this lifetime. So I remember when I was writing my Ayurveda book, The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, I would be looking out of the window and I would just be typing and typing and typing. And all of a sudden it was like, have you ever had this before? Just stream of consciousness coming through me. It was like gunas, subgunas, how they're related to the doshas, like Sanskrit terminology that I didn't even learn in this lifetime. And then it's all fact-checked and correct. How could I have known this? Because my soul had studied it in different lifetimes and I'm standing upon their shoulders. And so it was like, okay, you're ready, let this come through. So when you're having these stream of conscious thoughts, have you guys had those before, where all of a sudden it's like all these ideas and thoughts coming in? Likely it was a thought cloud that you were accessing from like previous lifetimes and the Akashic field that's like ready to be downloaded and channeled through. And so the ideas that you have in this lifetime are not new, but rather they were the ideas that your soul was waiting for you to be ready to receive. And as you purify more and open up more space in your field, more of these will come through. And then you will start to bounce between lifetimes like really quickly. So I find that like at the beginning of our journey, we spend a lot of time in like one lifetime because the mission is very big. And so it takes us a really long time to trust that, like, if you've never lived your Dharma, can take years the first time, right? So for me, going from not knowing how I was ever going to make money doing what I loved, I was eventually disowned by my whole family, broke, living in India in a $2 a night hut, to writing a book on Ayurveda. It was many, many years long process, right? Because I didn't even believe I had a Dharma half the time. But I would take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, until I finally attuned to the frequency of my Dharma. And that's when I got the book deal. And that's when Deepak Chopra asked to write the foreword of my book, and I started working with him, and the list goes on. So once you start attuning to that frequency of your Dharma, then you start to speak its language, you start to know it more. And then you don't have to learn through all of the pain. You don't have to hit rock bottom every single time. So the pain, breakdown, breakthrough language is just the language that the universe needs to speak to get you on track. But once you're on track, it's like, if you're listening to the subtleties, we can talk subtleties. And that's what you can start to learn through ease, through just receiving divine downloads, through just hearing what someone says, but you have to actually take action on it. Not just, I heard it, one day, because then it's like, oh, she's back to not listening. Guess we got to go back to the karma game. It's not what we want. So a lot of people say, how do I grow through ease? Well, first, have you grown through pain? Have you actually grown through it? Have you actually transformed your life from it? Have you actually taken it for the medicine and the nectar that it was here to be? Have you let yourself die? I believe all of Egypt was not actually about death, like the literal death. I really believe it was all around the deaths we experience in this lifetime. Like preparation for our identity deaths. Who's died in this lifetime before? I hope all of y'all have. It's good. When you're able to let yourself die, old versions of you, old identity. Some of you guys saw, I was here in Egypt for the first time 29 months ago. And 29 degrees in a lunar cycle, 29 days in astrology. And that was 4 days after finding out that my then husband had been cheating on me. And him and I were supposed to go to Egypt together. And in fact, right before we were going to go, I said, you know what? My dad, who's always been very triggering in my life, super narcissistic, very angry, from Iran, like the face of the patriarchy. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to heal my ancestral trauma with the masculine. And I invited my dad to come. So my dad was going to come. My husband was going to come. And then my brother, he was in Qatar and he was going to come. So I was going to go with these 3 men to Egypt and like face the patriarchy once and for all. And then God was like, oh, you're ready to face the patriarchy? Here's what was actually happening. Red pill. And when I got here, I knew, and by the way, I was like the joy priestess before, all about dancing and fun and bright colors, and I knew I will let myself die as long as it takes. I will hit the ground and beneath it. I will touch the floor of grief and stay there for however long it genuinely takes for me to see the other side of this. And even if I never like bright colors again, even if I never dance again. And I told my friend, I was like, I don't think I'm ever gonna wear hot pink. It's done for me. I will, the new brand colors are black. It was funny. And I was willing to stay in it for as long as it took because my oversoul was telling me, if you let yourself fully die right now, and not hold on to any identity, not try to cling, but let yourself fully fall into this void, not knowing when and how you're going to get out. There is something that is so much more magical, so much more greater for you on the other side that your little conscious mind cannot even perceive. And so every temple I went to, every tomb I went to, I had a funeral for a version of myself. For the children I would have had, for the life I thought I was going to live, for the home that I had, for the certainty. I was living life on cruise control, and now all of a sudden I'm cast on an entirely new highway. But something in me just trusted. And it's funny because I was always singing that ocean song to myself. The spirit lead me where my feet could never wander, which is funny because he started that retreat with that song. I'm like, oh, full circle. And so I went into the underworld. And I believe what the hieroglyphics are really showing us are the layers of the underworld we go through. Because it's not like death, okay, new identity. Oh, it gets darker before it gets lighter. Because those tears that you're crying at first are the tears around the situation, but then they are the tears of all the things you never cried about. It's the tears you never cried as a child. It's the tears for your ancestors. It's the tears for your past lives. Have you ever felt like sometimes you're crying so much, you're like, why am I even crying so much? Like, is it about this? And it's because you've just opened up a release valve. And so all of the tears that have been suppressed within you finally have a chance to come out. And so actually you're doing generations of work for yourself, for your family, for your lineage. And this situation was the exact tipping point that was needed to be the release valve for all of the undercurrents that have been building up until this time. So imagine a teapot that's like bursting and bursting and bursting with the boiling hot water, and all the vapor wants to come out, and you finally open it up. It's like all this vapor. If I just go, boop, okay, you're good. You cried once. Okay, you went to therapy. You're good, right? You're good, right? It's been brewing for lifetimes. And so not only do you have to open up the thing, you gotta smash the pot and let all the vapor go. And by the way, sometimes it takes months. For 6 months, I would say I was purely in the shadow realm. 6 months of waking up and crying every single day. 6 months of just seeing black. You know that trauma brain that you have where it's like you're there, but you're not really there? And that was my soul's death process. That was the process of releasing all of those, not just the marriage, that was just the tipping point, all of the ways of being, all the ways I tried to seek validation and love and approval. And, these are very embedded themes in the feminine consciousness. They're good girl conditioning. If I'm perfect, will you love me and never leave me, right? Right? And all of that needed to die. And so it takes time. But when we stop the judgment and just say, tears, here you are. Here you are again. When we start to feel the pain, instead of running from the pain or even trying to meditate the pain away, when we sit with the pain and we say, you are my friend. I love you. You are a part of me, and you are a part of every single person. And you start to take it as a gift, because it helps you feel so alive. And the funny thing is, I think we've all touched the same levels of pain, no matter what our situation was. I think the richest person and the poorest person and everyone in between has felt the same depth of pain. And so it's a great equalizer, because we know, wow, we've all felt this way before. And so when we stop judging it, then it no longer needs to be so loud. Because we've integrated it as part of ourselves. We've integrated it as part of our human experience. Using the codex, it's you in verse. And when you release judgment, you become free of it. That doesn't mean you don't experience pain, but actually what I find is the waves get further but deeper. So when you've had a dark night of the soul, something big that shifted in your life, you don't feel that thing as much. It's like at first it's like the waves are constant, right? The grief waves, like you're here and then all of a sudden you're back there, and you're here and you're back there. The waves start to get further. Before it was every few hours, every few minutes you're thinking about it, then it's every few hours, then maybe it's once a day, then maybe it's every couple of days, and then maybe it's every couple of weeks. But I find that we get deeper with it. And now that thing that happened, we're seeing it from an even deeper level and a deeper perspective, and we're putting more boxes together, more points of this beautiful, and we're like, oh, and it was also because of that, and also because of that, and we start to get more in a bird's eye level perspective of that thing. And so at first we were responding with emotion, which we needed to, but then it starts to, when we see the bird's eye level perspective, we're like, oh, you needed to be the villain in my story, because I needed to have the breakthrough that led to this version of me that only you as the villain could have done. And actually, that's the ultimate act of love, to be the villain in someone's story. So whoever's the villain in your story, that was a soul contract from a previous lifetime. They chose to hurt you in a way that only that hurt could catalyze the version of you that you were meant to become. And they were probably like, damn, I love you so much, I really don't want to do this, but we have to. And they have to live with the giving of your pain. That has to now become their story. And so often it's like, we're both ascending, but it's like they had to integrate often their shame, right? And we had to integrate maybe the betrayal. But the truth will set everyone free. And so when we realize that we're all playing a role in each other's awakenings, I remember on the medicine, it showed me, I had a friend and she wasn't responding to my text. I was like, did I upset her? Did I do something? It's just quite weird. We were texting every day and I couldn't think of what I did. And it showed me, it was like, there's something you said that triggered a dark night in the soul in her. Something I was unaware of. And it's like, and it's all perfect and it's all divine. And it showed me the tapestry of reality. And it was like the inside of a train. And it was like all, inside of a train, it's like this thing is spiraling and there's like the conveyor belt thing here and that thing there, and it's all connected. And so we actually all triggered dark nights of the soul in one another. We're the villain in someone else's story, believe it or not. Someone else has trauma over us. What? No, not me. But it's true. And it's not even personal, because it's this orchestration that needs to happen, that I trigger something in you, that triggers something in them, that triggers something in them. And it's all these perfectly divine time awakenings that only that specific little push could have done. And so spirit is actually working through all of us. And so sometimes you might say something, you don't even know why you said it. And it was exactly what that person needed to hear, in both an inspiration way or even in a hurt way. All of that is divinely timed. So when we realize this, that we're always channeling everything, I'm channeling right now, obviously, but everything that we say, even in a normal conversation, is being channeled. We don't even know why, because we are the Sims characters that are being played. And so when we realize this, we realize that everything has been perfect as it is. And not in a, oh, that wasn't unfair. Yeah, a lot of it was unfair. A lot of it triggered wounds and hurt and damage. Of course, war is not fair. It sucks. My whole family escaped from war. But if they didn't escape from war, I wouldn't have been born in America and I wouldn't be here. So I would say I'm grateful for that. Crazy, right? So when we realize this, that it's like worst thing, best thing, worst thing, best thing, then we can start to attune to, how can I not let things become the worst thing? And I can start to feel the wind. Okay, what is source speaking to me now? How can I start to communicate in the more subtle realms? Okay, I'm feeling something's off. For the woman, if you are with a guy and he's not in alignment for you, does your yoni not tell you? She will tell you. And we're like, oh no, it's fine. I like him. The yoni's like, Our bodies speak to us. Our bodies are conductors of energy. They will speak to us way before the mind does. The mind is super smart. It will try to tell us stories. We'll be like, you know what? You're in this era right now. Just go for it. Our bodies are like, So we start to listen to our bodies. We start to listen to the science. We start to attune to the subtle realms. This is where, Ayurveda and these different things come in. When you start to clear your body, you achieve what's called sattva, which is like purity consciousness. And when your vessel is so pure, all of a sudden it's like you eat one thing off and you're like, damn, fried food. How do people do it? But some people eat fried food every day for every meal and they feel nothing, right? But I take a lick of a French fry, I'm out, So yes, it's harder to be more conscious, to be more sensitive, because the things that weren't bothering most people start to bother us more. But it's us becoming more sensitive to what is out of alignment. And this doesn't mean we're all meant to just go live on a river and, be away from society, but it's having moments of purification, moments of going inwards, moments of clearing karma, moments of really looking at our life, what needs to be healed, really going personal. And then in that, you'll know when that cycle is complete. And then there's moments of going outwards, seva. Being of service is the most healing thing that any of us can do, because it takes us out of our own problem. It takes us out of our own story, because sometimes we get so caught up in our healing stories that it's freaking exhausting. We're like, you're by yourself for a few days and you're so in your own story. You talk to someone else, you're like, wow, someone has a completely different reality than me. And it sort of reminds you how different everyone is. We're all in the same world, but we're seeing it in such different ways. So when we're able to get out of our own frame and we're able to step into a completely different consciousness, it actually activates these dormant codes within ourselves that we wouldn't have accessed if I was still on this conveyor wheel of me just being me in my own situation. So ultimately, that's what your Dharma is about. It's about you being of service to humanity. It's not really about you, but it's spirit using you as the vessel that is meant to raise the vibration of the planet. And ultimately, all of our dharmas are the same, right? We're all here to raise the vibration of the planet in our own unique way. And every single one of us carries a unique tool, a unique signature, a unique frequency, a unique activation. And when we all can remember that, and we can all have the courage to actually embody it, because you were born with the Dharma, but now those obstacles on your way, they were your preparation ground. They were your soul's unique curriculum, so you don't just cognitively know your Dharma, but you become the living embodiment of it. And when you become the living embodiment of it, it's beyond words. It's your essence, it's your vibration. Just being in your field will create that experience for people. And when you are living in that state of consciousness, you start to be taken on a path that you could have never chosen for yourself. And your Dharma, you know, I have a tool in my book, Discover Your Dharma, called the Dharma Blueprint. And that shifts over time. And that's looking at your Dharma archetypes. There's a quiz you can take on my website, dharmaarchetypequiz.com. It's 9 different archetypes that we have. The researcher, the teacher, the warrior, the entertainer, the nurturer, the artist, the visionary, the nurturer, and the entertainer, and the entrepreneur. So we have these 9 archetypes that are alive in us. So that's the first part of the blueprint. The second part are, what are the mediums that come through me? Is it speaking? Is it writing? Is it organizing? Is it planning? Is it math? Is it podcasting? The third is, what are my superpowers? What are the things that come easily to me? What are the things that people compliment me on? The fourth is, what am I excited about? What am I chat GPTing? What am I talking to my friends about? What kind of podcasts and YouTube videos do I want to listen to? If I could have a conversation on anything, go on a retreat about anything, what would it be about? Excitement are the breadcrumbs guiding you towards your Dharma. If you look at your Dharma now, weren't they the things you were Google searching a few years ago? It's always the excitement. It's tending the fire that becomes your Dharma. You're meant to be excited about it, because that's what's going to give you the passion to keep doing it. Because when you're living your Dharma, it's full time. It's not a couple dozen hours, 100. It's a lifetime. So you need to continue to feel excited about it. And the last thing is, what are the obstacles you've overcome that you could help other people overcome? So those challenges, the on your knees moments, the things that you're on the other side of. So who is that version of you 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago? And how can you speak directly to them? How are you right now the living embodiment of what that version of you really desired to be? And how can you be of service to them? Because your Dharma isn't about, okay, I have to find the people to be of service of. Yes, we can do volunteer work and things like that, and that's seva. But your Dharma, it's you actually helping the past version of you. Because that is who you know so intricately. And you are creating a solution for that problem that you had, that you have seen yourself to the other side, because you know that thing. So if you're like, oh my God, I really wish there was, you know, a place where people like me could gather and play the guitar and read poetry and sing. I wish I had that. And then you created it. It's like, you know what it's like to feel lonely. You know what it's like to not have community. You know what it's like to then create that community. This is your Dharma. So if you're ever confused, look at, what was I wishing for 3, 5, 7 years ago? What am I on the other side of? And how can I be of service in that way? So does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I'd like to know more about the funeral that you had for yourself and what that funeral for yourself entailed, so that I can try to recreate that for myself as well.
Well, I was going to a lot of the tombs by myself and just like going inside the tombs. Like there's this one area here that has a lot of them. I don't know what it's called. I can ask. I don't think we're going to go there. But, and so I would just sit, like I would go under and sit there, and I would just, each and every one, like a different archetype or version of me would come on. So like when I was in a children's tomb, it was mourning the children I would have had. If I was in a wife's tomb, it was mourning the version of a wife I would have been. But you don't need to be in a tomb to do this. It can just be like a shedding, you know, shedding with your bleed is a really powerful time. With the full moon that just happened is a powerful time. We're in, you know, the full moon's descent right now. So this is a time of releasing and clearing. And I love ritual. I have a mystery school. So I buried myself. My friend and I, we buried each other. Yeah, I do weird shit. So we actually dug a hole and had full funerals. So like we wrote like the letter that like someone would read at our funeral. Yeah, the eulogy. And so I wrote like, Sahara was such a lovely soul, and I wish she knew this. And so it was very emotional. And then we wrapped ourselves with a blanket so we wouldn't get like all like dirty, and then actually buried one another. We had our head like out though so we could breathe, but like everything else was covered. And then we each stayed in there for like an hour. It was amazing. What else for death do I love? I mean, the whole Agori Baba tradition is about death. It's a school of Tantra. If you see in India by the Ganga, the men who have the ashes on their face. So it's about honoring death and seeing death as super, super sacred. So like going into the realms that you have disowned, like I have found like the things that annoyed me about my ex, like integrating them within myself, and that allows you to lose a lot of the charge around it. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go to a cemetery. Yeah, I'm happy if anyone has any other things they want like rituals and stuff for. This is my whole life, so I'm happy to guide you if need be. Yes? Anyone else? Questions, comments? All right, well, just remember that you have everything that you need to live your Dharma. Like, there is nothing that exists outside of you. Everything that you have gone through at this point has been your preparation ground. And even if you feel like, who am I? Like, little old me. Like, I'm not an author. I don't have a podcast. I'm not a spiritual teacher. Neither was I. Neither was Robert. Neither was anyone who's doing it. Mm-hmm. It was just a decision.
Yep.
And so trust if that desire is coming through, that desire is within you for a reason. And the funny thing is, it's not even about the desire. Like, I don't believe in manifestation really, because I believe that that desire is just you already knowing what's going to happen. It's like you have this desire because you already know what's going to happen. Now it's like, okay, like how do I get there, right? And so if you do have a desire to share your voice, to share your wisdom, to share your story, know that you have a soul contract to do so. Otherwise that desire would not be there. And so now it's, how do I get out of my own way? How do I not let my human stories become the overriding decision makers of my life and allow my highest self to take the wheel? How do I truly listen to my Dharma? And by the way, guys, we're living in the best time ever. We can all go on this app called Instagram. We can all just swipe, press the little check, swipe. It says live. Have you seen that before? You just press this red button and all of a sudden you have a TV show. Did you know that? You don't need to get on Oprah anymore. You don't have to, bribe some producers. You don't have to be chosen. You can have a TV show. You can have a daily talk show starting tomorrow. That's it. Starting today. Starting right now in your room. But the Wi-Fi is pretty bad, so maybe tomorrow. In a couple of days. Yeah. But you can start recording videos of yourself. A 1 minute video. Imagine if you recorded a 1 minute video of yourself saying something. You did that every single day for 30 days. Do you think that even maybe one person, maybe at least one person, maybe more? And you know what people say, I don't want to go live. I don't even have an audience. Well, trust me, there's going to be some guy from somewhere who's going to show up. Wow, you look very beautiful today. Someone will be there, okay? He will be there for you. Beta, you look very nice today. Yeah. You're married? They're the best. And the Indians, we will stand for you. We will support the Dharma. We are the ride or dies, okay? So know, exactly. So know that these two will be there for you on your live. So, and how much better that if you even just have one person, it's like, great. There's not much pressure, right? He's gonna like it anyways. And then maybe next time 3 people show up, and then 10 people show up, and then 20 people show up, and the list goes on. And what happens is every single time you speak, you start to become a better speaker. And you start to learn more parts of yourself. And you start to realize, oh, I really like the way I told the story this way. And you'll start to have more fans in India. You'll go viral. And you'll have a whole temple made for you. And that's the beauty of it, is Source will never give you what you're not ready for. And so we will always have the audience that we can energetically hold. And so when you don't feel safe that 100 people could watch your live, you won't have 100 people. But when you can feel safe with one person watching your live, that will happen. When you realize, oh, I'm safe, they didn't cancel me. Then you can have 10 people, then you can have more people. And by the way, it's not even about how many people we reach, it's about finding the right people. You need to find the right people in resonance, because that's gonna go so much further. I see so many of us, we're like, I wanna reach 1 billion people. It's like, okay, what's the consciousness of 1 billion people? Like, you would have to dilute yourself so much to be able to reach those 1 billion people that you wouldn't even be you. You wouldn't even be living your Dharma. There are some people like a Pope. He reaches like 7 billion people, but it's like, I don't even know what his message is. Do you guys know? Does anyone know the Pope's message? Like, what is he for? But he reaches everyone, you know? And so it's like, kind of like the more we just try to reach people, and it's like, actually like the badass freaking teachers, they're reaching like 3 people. You got to find them. And so we're all at different ladders of consciousness, like different levels of the journey. And it's like, I kind of find it as like, we're passing the torch to one another, right? So it's like, someone may have come in, they watched Oprah, and that was their spiritual awakening. And then they maybe watched Deepak Chopra. And then maybe from there they watched Marianne Williamson, and then Tony Robbins and Michael Beckwith, and, you know, but now like those names I mentioned that we all know, we're in a different time. They were in the time that there were like 10 channels, 2 of which had talk shows. One was Jerry Springer, you know, which was great. I'm like, Mom, learn about American culture. You know? But so we only knew a handful of people because there was just so much bureaucracy back in the day. Nowadays, there are millions of Oprahs, and they can hit exactly what we need. If I want to learn about Gene Keys, Jai is going to be my Oprah for it. If I want to learn about healing cancer, you're going to be my Oprah for it. If I want to learn about anything else, there's going to be and it's so much cooler because that person can speak directly to what you need. So actually, your Dharma is not about going wide, but it's about going so specific. It's about being so uniquely you that the people who are in resonance for it will be like, oh, they're speaking exactly to me. And what naturally happens if, you know, they say there's 2 kinds of souls, ordinal and cardinal soul. Some souls are actually meant to work with like small handfuls of people at a time. They're meant to work one-on-one. They're not meant for big stages. So if you're someone that's like, I don't even want to reach 1 billion people or get on a stage, it's not for me. You're probably the ordinal soul, I think that one is. You're meant to work in small groups, and that's the nurture archetype. That's your Dharma. Some people have this really big desire to be seen by a lot of people. And sometimes we judge one another, but it's like our soul is just remembering what we're here to do, right? So if that desire is within you, I see myself speaking on stage, I see myself writing books, that's what your soul was meant to do. And so someone like Robert, he's speaking, he was my most downloaded podcast episode ever, and I've done almost 700 episodes at this point. And it's interesting because his episode was 2.5 hours long, half of which I didn't understand what he was saying, you know? Like, with you, right? But people resonated because he was so specific. It was not like, be your best self and follow your dreams, you know? I've interviewed some of the top spiritual teachers, some of which I've not aired the episodes. These people have probably 1 billion people following them. And I'm like, this is so like freaking McDonald's. I don't even want to put this shit out. And so when we're just naturally really being ourselves, it's going to reach the amount of people that we're even meant to. And it's not even our choice, really, right? He didn't choose. He's just being himself, and it just happened. So trust that you're meant to reach the right people at the right time. But I think where free will comes in is if we get out of our own way. Because a lot of people living there who have dharmas, big dharmas, you talk to them, you're like, you are a freaking genius, or you are so empathic, or you have such a gift. They're not living their dharmas. It's because they're allowing those human fears and conditioning to take hold of them. So again, like in human design, they talk about the deconditioning process. That's really what it's all about. It's the purification process. It's the letting go. It's the remembering. So with that, unless you guys have any other questions, Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yay.